Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tripadvisor President and CEO Stephen Kaufer in conversation with Skift Executive Editor and Founding Editor Dennis Schaal.
Steve, how you doing? Thanks for being here.
Hey, good afternoon to you. Doing well.
And audience members, it's been an interesting day so far as well. Steve, I thought I'd start out by saying that, in the last few years, you guys have pivoted into or put more emphasis on both tours and activities and restaurants, two sectors which really got whacked in the pandemic. And then I was thinking, well, it's hard to find a sector that didn't get really severely impacted during this crisis. But there's estimates that perhaps 25% of restaurants won't reopen. There are a lot of tours and activities operators suffering. So how does this all figure into your strategy going forward?
Look, Dennis, at the end of the day, it's got to be about helping the traveler plan that magical trip. And obviously, we started in hotels. Hotels is always going to be a part of that equation. But we really want to be able to help that traveler in COVID recovery times or post have a great experience. That always includes something amazing to do or multiple days of exciting adventure, great places to eat, the rest of the equation. And so part of the reason why we went into restaurants and attractions in general is because those are really meaningful parts of the trip. And we want to do a great job for the traveler.
I hear you. So you did a company update, a financial update, I think it might have been last week. And you said that you forecast that June revenue would probably be about 20% of what it was a year ago. So what specifically are you seeing in Europe right now? What countries are coming back? What sectors are coming back? How do you see it?
So, we did this five phase recovery outline: decline, plateau, emerging, domestic, international. We're at the plateau phase, moving into emerging, right? So we've seen sort of different countries come back up out of this utter lockdown at different stages, and there's some slip ups along the way, as I'm sure everyone's reading about. But in general, our low point was clearly April, early May. June was double that. And when you look at all of our traffic to Tripadvisor, the brand Tripadvisor as a whole, we're back to more than half of where we were a year ago. And so that plus survey says 2/3 of people are still planning a trip, even when they're in lockdown, means travel will come back. It's going to look different. It's going to be more local. It's going to be more outdoors as opposed to big urban centers, at least for the short term, from what our survey tells us. And I congratulate all the countries that are able to keep their infection count low so that they can start letting folks up and about. First on domestic trips, as I say, and then travel corridors and other safer ways to travel.
And on the bright side, on the modest bright side, you're starting to bring back some employees from the Fork, for example, in Europe, your dining reservations platform.
So rentals and restaurants are the fastest for us to recover on a global basis. Hotels next, then attractions, if you will, if I had to rank order them. And dining in countries where it is safe to go out and restaurants are open. We're certainly seeing, probably a bit of pent-up demand, but it's looking pretty good in terms of number of people coming back. And that's true in almost every country that we look at. I have no doubt that the summer is going to be horrific for everyone in the travel industry compared to last year, but it will be better than Q2 for everyone in the travel industry.
Right. So you've made a big bet on tours and activities. And for years, Viator was the undisputed leader in tours and activities. You acquired them 3 or 4 years ago, something like that.
5, yeah.
5. Time flies.
Yeah.
So a few minutes ago, we heard Johannes from Get Your Guide speaking, and he claimed that Get Your Guide is now the global market leader in tours and activities. And certainly, competition is more intense now. There's soft bag money going into Get Your Guide and Klook. Airbnb is putting a big effort into tours and activities. So are we sort of seeing the changing of the guard here? And do you agree with Johannes that they are now the undisputed, well, he didn't say undisputed, they are now the market leader in tours and activities?
Anyone else can claim what they want. Everything's very privately held. So the point that I'm excited about, and I'm sure Johannes is excited about, is that the overall space is clearly growing. It's long been called out as the last category to finally go online. And between the collective supply aggregation efforts by us and everyone else, I mean, we have like 400,000 different products for sale on our Viator Tripadvisor base. When we bought the company 5 years ago, it was 20,000. That's a massive gain. So we have an open marketplace. Folks with great products anywhere around the globe can come and list, and our job is to match that supply with demand. We have this tremendously unfair advantage in the experience OTA space, if you want to call it that, because we have hundreds of millions of people on TripAdvisor already planning leisure trips that often, or one might argue very frequently, require or need or could use a wonderful thing to do on that trip. That's why you're on TripAdvisor in general, is to plan that great holiday, and that great holiday should include an experience. So we've got a great mix. I'm not disappointed that Airbnb comes into the space or that there's other players that are emerging. The name of the game is to get the pie to be 10x the size it is today.
It's not an easy space. Booking.com earlier this year basically threw up their hands and said, this is a lot harder than we thought. We're going to give up for now on building our own tours and activities product. And now they've partnered with TUI and the Musement brand in order to get that going. Do you see them emerging as a formidable competitor, or how do you view that?
I think the big hotel OTAs have the ability to move a fair number of bookings because they know exactly where a set of customers are going at a time. And that's great. And if they choose to really focus on it, folks like TripAdvisor and Viator can help by providing some supply. I think the question is how long, or what's the strategic question by which that becomes something they really get known for. And I dare say nobody thinks of the hotel OTAs as the place I'm going to go to book that amazing experience. They do think of that for TripAdvisor and our brand trust, our name recognition around the globe. We're still the largest travel site around the world. We still have that incredible brand trust. And this is as we've been growing our experiences. So over the past 5 years, we have more and more people used to booking an experience on TripAdvisor. We've seen the Viator brand continue to grow each year over the past 5 years. And we have a third-party business. So it's a really nice space for us to be in. Helps the traveler, opens up new category. It's going to come online. There is first mover advantage, and we love being in the lead position there.
Were you just saying that you're open to providing supply to Booking.com in tours and activities?
Just like the hotel OTAs have an arm of their business that license their hotels to other people that want to sell it through different channels, we have that same capability, and I dare say we'd be wide open to distributing our experiences supply in almost everywhere around the globe. So yes, come on, talk to us.
Interesting. So you announced, I believe it was last week, that Viator is going to start to charge a listing fee to bring on new listings. There's been a lot of opposition to it among operators who are struggling. A lot of them are going out of business. I understand the listing fee would only start August 1, but isn't this the wrong time to add a new fee for operators who are already hard pressed?
Yeah, look, I understand some folks taking pot shots at us for the fee. The issue we are solving for our travelers is having great supply. The fee is $29, and there's no fee if you have a product you want to go list now. So as you say, it doesn't start until August 1st. So our message is come on board, but we do want to make sure the next 200,000 products that we onboard are worth buying, that our operators are willing to invest the time and effort to upload great photos, give a wonderful description, and frankly, this tiny fee isn't going to make or break. I mean, if you're serious about selling on Tripadvisor, Viator, reaching our audience, you make that back in your first booking. So it's really not about the fee. It's about we want folks who are serious about our platform to come on board. And again, unlike some other players, it's an open platform. We don't reject you as a supplier if you have great content and a good product. Come on, and that's how we're north of 400,000 now.
What players aren't an open platform?
Well, I just think if you look around, why is it that we have 400,000 and other folks, I'm not sure their numbers, but they're arguably an order of magnitude less. And so, you can choose to not be an open platform by charging an exorbitant commission. We don't. You can choose to not be an open platform by saying, no, we already have 3 balloon ride providers or 1 balloon ride provider we don't want anymore. That's what Viator used to do before we acquired them. But when you have an open marketplace like we do, we feel that is certainly the fairest way from a supplier perspective. And it's the best for a consumer perspective because consumers want choice. They want high quality choice. They want great options available to them at all times. And that's what's built our business, and it's worked.
Steve, switching gears a little bit, one of the themes that has permeated this conference has been companies saying that the COVID-19 crisis has given them the opportunity to reset themselves, to remake themselves, whether it's destinations or hotels. And you said something that intrigued me during your first quarter earnings call. I'm not sure if I'm making too much out of it or not, but you said the pandemic gives Tripadvisor an opportunity to remake itself. And you said something about changing the traveler experience on Tripadvisor in a way that might sacrifice your volume of unique visitors, but would lead to increased engagement. So could you expand on that a little bit? What were you talking about?
Sure. And yes, I think I know the paragraph you were referring to. We're looking to craft Tripadvisor to really serve the needs of the considered trip, a trip that really matters to a traveler, which is a bit different than how a lot of people had been using Tripadvisor a couple of years ago. If it was a one-night stay near mom's house and going for a visit, you go look at the reviews on Tripadvisor, and we wanted to make sure that that conversion path was frictionless, yada, yada. And look, it built a billion-plus business. So let's remember, it worked. We have a massive travel site, incredible influence throughout the industry. But as other players have come in, Google in particular, taking a big share of search traffic, where do we really stand out, and what is our North Star for how we are serving our travelers? Answer, that considered trip, the long weekend, the week where you are taking somebody who says, I'm interested in going to location X, and we're helping them with the hotel and the experience and the dining and shopping, piecing it all together so they come back and say, wow, that was a fabulous trip, much more so than, wow, that was a great hotel I got a recommendation for on Tripadvisor. So our internal KPIs talk about taking the traveler who may have only experienced one part of our site and teaching them about all of the components. You can build an itinerary on trip. You can add the things you might want to do the places you might want to eat. You can share that with your friends. You can edit the thing together. Great, trip functionality that frankly isn't used nearly the degree that it should be based upon that considered trip. And so when you focus on that trip that matters, to some degree, you have to give up or you have to do less of something else. So we're doing less of the page level optimizations to reduce some of the friction in the flow. We're doing less of some of our flights activity. We're doing more around helping a set of travelers deliver on that amazing experience. And when you're sitting like we are on pre-COVID 400 and something million unique users, I get to set the expectation that that number may drop, and that's okay with us if the repeat rate, if the number of people coming back over and over again to plan this considered trip goes up. And so since people look at our UUs sometime, I want to say that, hey, our UUs may go down, but the repeat rate and the revenue generated goes up. And that's a trade we're perfectly happy to make.
Great. You mentioned that Google has been, taking search traffic, and the EU has been a little tougher so far on Google than the US, although there seems to be a lot of regulation coming. And one thing that's happening is there's talk that platforms such as Tripadvisor and Google that have reviews are going to have to pay a lot more attention to the content that's on their platform and take more responsibility. And you might lose some of the liability protections that you've enjoyed for years. So how do you view this playing out, this crackdown on big tech? What's your view on how this might play out?
Yeah, so at this point, almost every site you can think of on the internet uses customer feedback in one way, shape, or form. Tripadvisor wasn't the first, but we were one of the earlier ones to leverage the power of these user-generated comments. Whether you're an old-fashioned newspaper, an e-commerce site, everyone has reviews now. So I really am not concerned that any government is going to come and take away the ability for folks like us and every other commerce site to have reviews. When it comes to moderation, hey, we're great at it. We've been doing this 20 years. There are very few complaints. We take it super seriously. We've been in the biz, and we are blessed by not having political speech on our site. It's not a social network where you come to share some of the things, I'll just leave it at that are shared on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. So my heart goes out to the challenges that they have to face when it comes to balancing the free speech versus hate speech, when it comes from politicians, when it comes from individuals. But at a minimum, all of us, and we've been doing it forever, so I'm not worried, have a set of content moderation policies, and we have to abide by them and implement them. And perhaps some of the other companies haven't done everything they need to in that regard.
So there's, regarding those other companies, so there's no advertising boycott in the offing, it sounds like. Little jab at Facebook.
Yeah, no, Tripadvisor, because of the content moderation we do, frankly, and this type of site we are, we're an incredibly brand safe area for anyone advertising. That's part of our core pitch in our media business. When we approach a travel advertiser, I'm like, your ad is going to appear in a contextually relevant, highly brand safe environment and with great targeting. And that is a clear differentiator that we get to use against some of the other big companies out there.
Sure. In Europe, before the coronavirus crisis, Google was playing around with, they were putting some free links on top of their featured results for, I believe, for hotels and activities and packages and that kind of thing. So it wasn't just a paid environment. There were direct free links that had long bid way down the page. You think that's going to make any difference if they continue that thing in terms of leveling the playing field?
Look, I am perfectly clear. I think Google should stay true to its original mission, not its current mission, of doing what's best for their audience. And if they put links that are valuable content ahead of the stuff that they want to serve up because they think some of their content is good enough, hey, that's a misuse of the platform. They're entitled to make money, so they're entitled to have paid links where they put them. But when it's preferencing their own product, that's a no-no, as said by the EU and many state attorney generals, and it doesn't lead to good outcomes down the road.
Sure. In your financial update, you said that Tripadvisor has enough liquidity to make it through the crisis, although you haven't ruled out raising more capital. So does this mean Tripadvisor over the years has made a number of small acquisitions to add on to the fork or for your tours and activities? So does this environment preclude you doing that kind of thing in the short term? Making acquisitions?
Making a large acquisition now would be challenging. Doing a tuck-in acquisition like we've been doing practically every year for a couple of decades now remains easily within the realm of possibility. It's not our first activity right now. We are looking to rebuild our business, focused on the Consider trip, making an experience for you, showcasing the good out there. I mean, when we talk about being in the emerging stage or the plateaus, the emerging stage of travel right now, the number one thing travelers care about is safety. 9 out of 10 travelers said, I want to be safe when I travel. No surprise there, but we've now reached out to all of our hoteliers, all of our restaurateurs, and said, hey, come give us the information. What are you doing as a hotel to make your guests feel safe? Talk about any badges you earn, talk about all of the different steps that you're making, fill out our checklist, and we will display it on your page. It's a free service for everyone. We're trying to help to do our part in getting the world back traveling. And one of the things that we are known as is we are a travel guidance company. We have a terrific brand that is trusted. People come to us for information. So how can we provide more information in these COVID times that's particularly relevant to where they might want to stay, where they might want to eat, and how they can travel safely?
Steve, here's a quick question with probably a quick answer. Is Tripadvisor itself an attractive acquisition target now? During this crisis, since the stock has dropped, the market cap is a lot lower. Has anybody been kicking the tires more than usual?
I would never talk about a topic like that in a forum. Tripadvisor, because of our scale, has an incredible ability to address hundreds of millions of travelers. We grew 50 million new members last year alone. And even in COVID times, we're going to be doing tens, maybe even more than tens of millions of new members. It's a trusted brand that works across the globe. We're providing an incredible service to travelers to help them travel safely, book the entire trip. And we have what we call the content, all the restaurants and all the attractions, and some of the other guys don't have everything. So we have our place in the ecosystem. We're proud of it. We don't need to acquire anyone else to fulfill our dreams, nor are we subscale such that we need to be acquired in order to address our travelers. We've long since passed that stage.
Steve, we have about a minute left here. So you've been at this for 20 years. You've been through 9/11, the financial crisis. I've been covering you for 20 years, and now COVID. How do you stay motivated? Are you still enjoying this? And how do you stay motivated after that period of time? I stay motivated because you're still
I
making news, but
I I I love my job. I love the company Tripadvisor, what we stand for hundreds of millions of travelers, the fact that we're trusted, the fact that people, will come up and say, "Hey, oh, I use Tripadvisor all the time. It really helped me have a great trip. I found," and then they tell me a great story. And so having the type of impact around the globe on so many people on a topic that's just really important to them, I think that's a fantastic opportunity. And I've said internally, I've said externally, if I ever get bored, yeah, I'll hop off and do something else. But there's so many ways that TripAdvisor could do this, what we do, so much better. It should be so much more personalized. I really want the simplicity of planning. I really am looking to help find that extra advice from TripAdvisor that talks to me as an individual versus the broader population. I'm really looking for, and I can go on and on. And, maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'll keep inventing what the new future, or we as a team will keep inventing what the new travel future should look like. But I can tell you, we're not there yet. Travel's a blast. It's only going to grow. And I like being in a seat that can help guide it in a great direction.
great. So be it, Steve. I enjoyed the talk, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
A pleasure. Thanks so much for your time. Cheers.
See you.